I want to begin by asking the question, who defines who and what we can be, beginning right from birth, and the answer is pretty obvious to most of us. It's our parents, it's other adults all around us, our siblings who are older, and then our peers and our teachers. And all of those people, they set expectations, they teach us what we can and we can't do. And when we were first born, we as humans really are quite helpless. We can't even sit up. We can't feed ourselves. At times, we can't even roll over or whatever. And then we gradually learn to do those things. And actually, we discovered that we have a lot of power very early because as a baby, something as simple as crying, we discover that gets attention. And we learn how to manipulate the adults around us fairly early. And then as we grow into toddlers, of course, and we go through the terrible twos and all those things, we start defining our own world. We start coming into our own. And one of the things that we do is we give ourselves permission to believe anything that we want to believe. We believe we could be anything we want to be. We can do anything we want to do. And it's only when the adults around us and our older people around us tell us, no, you can't do that, that it pulls us back down. Uh, you know, so, what are those people, those adults, those older, our parents, our teachers, our older siblings, what are they teaching us, and why? And one of the things that you hear a lot as you're growing up is be realistic, don't get too big for your pants. And then as you get into high school, you're taught that the way to be successful is to get good grades in school, and then maybe get into a good college, maybe not, but then get a good job and save up. And after 40 years, you retire and you get a gold watch and you live out your life on your savings. Now, the problem with that is that things have changed a lot. And today, fully, I think it's like over 80% of Americans, when they hit retirement age, they discover they don't have enough money to retire on. Some of them have no savings. And so that model doesn't work. And a better model is the one that I introduced you to a couple days ago. If you look at my timeline, you'll see I posted a couple links to videos by Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he teaches that, you're better off now building assets rather than planning on the government, giving you Social Security in your old age and your pension from your job and all those things kicking in. That security, that sense of security is no longer there. So things have changed, and you need to look closely at that. In fact, one of the things I've done is I've set up a private Facebook group. I'm looking for the link to that now, um, where I discuss a lot of these things. I discuss, what is it really going to take when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, to be independent, to be financially secure, and things like that. Because I am 60 and I'm leaning towards retiring, semi-retiring, and I'm sharing within my group the things I'm doing now to set up for that. So I'm going to give you the link to that group first of all. And what'll happen there is you can go over and request that I add you to the group. Now, it's a private group, and being a private Facebook group, I make the rules because it's my group. If you don't like my rules, you can form your own group. Anyone could form a private Facebook group. Uh, but the purpose of the group is to really to stretch your mind as to what is possible and to get you thinking about doing more, doing bigger things, and pointing out a lot of the flaws that society heaps upon us, about what is and isn't possible. Now, I noticed that Joel has joined us, and I'm going to butcher his name, but Ola Tun Basun. has joined us. And so I thank you guys for joining us. And Joe posted that support and mentorship are the keys to success. And he posted as a question. And the answer is yes, actually. It's letting those who've already done what you want to do teach you uh, what really works. You know, the problem is who's teaching us from very early on. And why are they teaching us what they teach us? One of the reasons they teach us what they teach us, our teachers and the older adults in our lives, is because it's what they were taught. Okay, they can't teach you something that they don't know, so they teach you what they were taught. Another thing is they don't want you to be disappointed or hurt. But I think a bigger reason is that they don't want to feel bad because they didn't accomplish more and because they aren't currently striving to accomplish more. They've settled into what feels comfortable. We all like to be comfortable. We don't like to step outside our comfort zones. And I know people that I talk to every day, just about, who complain about their jobs and their coworkers and their bosses and all those things, but they're not stretching to get away from those things and to do and accomplish more. And part of that is that they haven't been exposed to role models who show them, yes, what you're thinking about doing is possible. It's possible. You won't believe that it's possible until you expose those role models, whether they're mentors or just role models, people you study. And, we're programmed all of our lives to settle for less than we can be. So the question becomes, how do you break out of that mode that you've settled into? And there's a number of answers I'll throw at you. How do you break free from the programming? One is you surround yourself with people who've done what you've imagined you'd like to do. You only imagine it because at the point you're at in life, you maybe don't know someone who's already doing it. And so you've heard about it, you've read about it, but you haven't actually seen people doing it. So what you need to do is to actually surround yourself with people who are doing it, because then they show you that it's possible. You can read all you want, you can listen to all the videos and audios you want, but until you surround yourself with people who are actually doing what you want to do, you don't know whether they're full of crap, whether they're just making up stuff. You got to see it for yourself. And so you surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, okay? And you mastermind with them, you network with them, you look for ways to break into their world. And one of the secrets to breaking into their world is to look for ways that you can add genuine value to them. You see, when we look at people who are better off than we are, we look at people who are wealthier than we are, we see these super successful people, and our first thought is, how do I get them to help me, to pull me up? Okay, that thinking is flawed in a way. It's flawed in a way. I joined a group of fairly successful people, a lot of multimillionaires, a few in the group that were wannabes, but they were moving up at the same time. And that group is called the Winner's Circle. They meet in what is it? It's about a 12,000, I think, maybe 20,000 square foot house in Tampa, Florida. It's a private mansion. And the place is so big that it has like 8 separate air conditioning systems to heat and cool different parts of the house. And let me drop a link to you. You can go check out some pictures from that house if you want to. That the house is worth, though, probably about 15 million right now, which is not a lot. Located right on a golf course, but it's where that mastermind group meets. And you look at the pictures there, you'll see that I was invited to a meeting at that house. And when I got there and I started listening to all these people, some of who own their own private planes or Their business was to rent planes to multimillionaires who wanted to fly wherever with their own private planes. And I listened to these people who did all kinds of things. They, were into manufacturing things. They were into rare arts and rare coins. They were into, some of them talked about moving, tens of millions of dollars across countries' borders, without being detected, because in the United States, they limit the assets you can move across the US border, actually out of the country. You probably didn't know that. But so I'm listening to these billionaires and mostly millionaires talking about how to get assets out of the country without being noticed, and talked about things like, where you can go and live outside the US if you choose to without the US government noticing. So I'm listening to these people talk all these things, and they were at a higher level than I was at. And yet they brought me into their group. I looked at these people and I'm like, whoa, this guy's making, I guess some of them 100 million, a lot of them 10, 20 million. One of them was selling a course, teaches actually buying and selling tax lien certificates. And when he teaches, he says, you go out, you find properties, you buy them, and if you need money to help you out, I'll lend you up to 5 million of my money to spend on tax lien certificates, and then we'll split the profits. That was, he was doing that well, and he's a friend. And the reason I was accepted in that group is because they looked at me and they said, this Willie guy knows how to put together deals, how to put together joint ventures. And they said, we need him, because the problem they were facing was all of these very wealthy people, they were too busy running their business to actually put together deals with each other. See, they should have been reaching out to each other, and yet what they were often doing was saying, I'll have my girl or my guy contact your girl or your guy, and we'll see what we can work out. And so, millionaire A said to millionaire B or whatever, or thought, well, if you're too busy to work with me, to even talk to me, I'm too busy to talk to you. They didn't want to talk to the underlings. They wanted to talk to the big guy. And so I was brought in as a fellow member of the group, and my job was to put together deals within the group, to connect group members, because they viewed me as a quasi equal. And so it was not millionaire A, multimillionaire A, dealing with an underling. It was dealing with somebody who was on their level. And in fact, this is one of the awards that they gave me. You probably barely read it, but they made me joint venture broker of the year. And the reason they did that was because they saw that I could put together deals that could make them hundreds of millions of extra dollars that they wouldn't make without me connecting them. I mean, I was helping them to connect with each other and put together deals with each other that they should have been doing without me. But that was why I was welcomed into the group. And I went on mastermind cruises with them and all kinds of things. So I stepped up and outside of that limited world that I had been in, which was the world of internet marketing, I guess you could call it. It was selling information products. A lot of these guys did sell information products, but a lot of them sold physical products, pharmaceuticals and all kinds of manufactured goods and things like that. And so it was basically stepping outside my comfort zone and stepping into a group, hanging out with a group of people who did what I wanted to do. So that's one thing. The other thing is, in order to step up and out, you have to study the ultra successful, I believe. I mean, studying our school teachers who are, I treasure them. They molded me and shaped me into what I was up through college, because I started out as a poor kid on welfare, government subsistence, and I didn't have any role models that were, making $100,000 a year, or, millionaires. Everybody was poor in my neighborhood. A lot of the people were on government subsistence and depended on farm work. And then in the wintertime, some of them went away to the big city to work other jobs until it was time to come back on the farm and start farming again. So I wasn't around those people. Uh, so what I do today is, while a lot of people, uh, they, hang out on Facebook and they argue about little things that don't matter so much, and they watch TV, they watch reality TV shows and things like that. I don't do that per se. What I do is I study the ultra successful. So when you look at my timeline, you'll see me posting videos about different people. For example, recently I posted about David Goggins. David Goggins was uh, he was working as an exterminator, pest control guy, killing roaches and stuff. And one night he looked at a television show that showed Navy SEALs working out. And he said, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. The problem was the guy had gone from like 180 pounds up to 300 pounds, way out of shape and everything. And he went on and became like the only person that anybody knows of actually who became a Navy SEAL and then went through the Army's Special Forces training and then went through the Air Force's TACP training. And he went through Hell Week with the Navy SEALs 3 times. This guy ran like 200 miles nonstop. He's done like 3,000 push-ups nonstop. And I posted about him on the Facebook timeline. He's often referred to as the toughest man alive. And he talks about what drives and what pushes him. I post about people like that. I posted about Robert Kiyosaki, whose dad had a government job and was struggling just to make ends meet. And yet one of his friends' dad was an entrepreneur, and he taught him how to be an entrepreneur. And that's what Kiyosaki learned, and that's how he broke out of the poverty cycle. I introduced you to Yaro Starak, who has gone for like 12 years without checking his primary email box. He is basically outsourced, so he talks about time freedom and all those things. I've introduced you to Gene Pimentel, who taught me all about buying and selling domains. And then I introduced you in the last week to 2 different models. One's just buying them and quick turning them. The other one is buying them and renting them out to local business owners. So you're developing a virtual real estate empire. That training is on my timeline as Facebook Lives. I introduced you to Lisa Nichols. Lisa Nichols, when she was going through grade school, her highest grade was a C plus, and she barely got out of high school. And she lived in South Central LA, raising her son as a single mom. And she was a single mom because her husband was in prison. He'd gone to prison before his son was even born. And she talks about, her son being in his 20s now, and the dad is still in prison. So she is de facto a single mom. And yet Lisa is a motivational speaker who her speech teacher or her English teacher in high school told her she was better off never getting a job when she was speaking, and she was told never to write anything. She's dyslexic, yet she's written numerous books, and she's a true inspiration. And I posted links to her. Now, Lisa and Robert, they've both not been nominated for awards at an award ceremony I'll be at end of next week, actually. So I introduced you to these people, though. I introduced you to Paul Lindbergh. Paul wrote the book, Be Unreasonable. And he basically points out that everybody says to you, be reasonable, have realistic expectations. Paul teaches just the opposite. He says if most people are unsuccessful, why are you listening? Why do you want to be like them? He says, be unreasonable. So that's the title of his book, which you can find on Amazon. I have a copy somewhere in my cluttered office, and I've read it numerous times and marked it up, and I am unreasonable. I have unreasonable expectations for myself and for others, okay? And I see that Kevin Duffield joined me, and Rick Ector, and Daniel Proti. I hope I pronounced Daniel's name right. Thank you guys for joining me. And today I'm just talking about pushing yourself to reach higher. And I point out that I study very successful people. I look at what they're doing. I listen to them. I go to YouTube and I'll type in the name of somebody who was extremely successful, and I'll listen to what they have to say. People like Warren Buffett, who his big secret was he graduated from college with zero debt. So he already had a leg up. He had like $10,000, and he just started rolling it over. And he's very much against debt, basically. But what he does is he goes into his office and he sits around and he reads magazines and newspapers, and he's studying companies, he's studying businesses that he wants Berkshire Hathaway to invest in. Him and one of his friends who helps to run the company. And the thing he teaches is not to invest in anything you don't understand. So he doesn't invest in things like cryptocurrency and a lot of other investments that we see as the latest craze and all that. He says, I buy things that I know. And because of that, Warren is the third richest person in the world right now. Jeff Bezos is number one, and Bill Gates is number two, and Bill is number two because Warren gave him $35 billion to give away. Warren is Bill's mentor. And Warren says, I'm very good at earning money. I'm not good at giving away. So he gave it to Bill and let the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation give it away. His goal is to die broke. So but I study these people. And I encourage you to study these people. Now, I mentioned I'm in the internet marketing. I spent most of my time selling information products. So I'm in the internet marketing niche to an extent, but I've moved up a little, and now I focus more on serving local offline business owners. And the reason I do that, and a lot of internet marketers are doing that too, so it's not just me, but the reason that we are doing that is because those people who are running brick and mortar businesses, they have budgets, right? And the budgets, they set aside so much each month, each year for advertising. And they know if they don't spend that money on advertising, that their competitors are going to steal their market share and they'll be out of business. And so, I think I mentioned Dan Kennedy. He teaches go to where the money is, so these people have money set aside to spend on advertising. You show them that you can deliver results for them, and they'll spend the money with you. I see my friend Lolita Sherrill has joined me. Lo invests in real estate. Investing in virtual real estate is no different, except that the cost of entry is much lower. You can buy a domain name for as little as $1, actually, and then turn around and sell it or rent it out if you find the right ones. And there's the two Facebook Lives I did on buying and selling domain names covers how to buy and sell domain names, how to rent domain names or sell them to business owners, and also how to buy one inexpensively and quick turn it from 10 times as much as what you paid for it to 100 times as much you paid for it, and I introduced you in the Facebook Lives to that training. Now, Joel's asking the best way to approach successful people. It's you have to sort of hang out where they hang out. It's like where you live. I would probably try to get my way into maybe the Kiwanis Club where there's local business owners. I would get my way into I would attend Chamber of Commerce meetings where you are going to meet other business owners. You're going to meet all the local business owners there and people who are in business clubs. That's where you'll meet those people at. And I see Max Cantor's joined us and Ali Muhammad has joined us. So I thank you guys for joining us. But yeah, that's the key is you have to almost at times elbow your way into some of these groups where you got people who are much more successful than you are, but the reason that they will accept you into their group is because you can add genuine value to them. So you need to look at what can I do for them. I mean, and I've watched people do something as simple as look at some rich person's website and notice mistakes on the website. Maybe it's not optimized, it's loading very slow, it's missing something. And they just email them and say, I noticed this about your website and I fixed it. Uh, and the person will say, thank you, what do I owe you? It's like, nothing, I just wanted to fix it for you. It's doing people favors rather than asking them to do you favors. So you see, because all these very wealthy people are used to people coming to them and asking them to help them up, to give them a hand up. It's almost like, well, you've already made it, so now you owe it to me to sort of pull me up. Well, that's the wrong approach. Do something for them, show them that you are someone they want to be around because you can deliver genuine value into their lives. See, uh, I don't care how wealthy a person is, they still want to make more at times. And while they want to help other people, they're also constantly bombarded by other people seeking help. And because those people are looking at them like, you really owe it to me or you should help me, they're bombarded with that so much that they're sort of defensive. And so you have to show them that you have something of genuine value to them, that you can honestly help them. And I see my cousin Tony has joined us. I enjoyed hanging out with him beginning of July at a family reunion. We grew up 10 minutes apart, and I used to go over to their house and watch TV in the middle of the night because we had no television or telephone or car when I was growing up. So we'd go over and I'd bother his grandfather to give me a ride into town, and I'd use their phone, and I would watch their TV until late at night, then walk back home across snake-infested fields. But that was the life I had growing up. And, I didn't even realize that we were poor until I got to college and started hanging around people who had it much better. But that didn't matter. A lot of those people later on, people that I thought was much smarter than I was, they flunked out of college, or I went to flight school out at Mayfield Air Force Base in California. 60 brand new second lieutenants started the same day I did, and probably 40, maybe 35 finished the training. The others flunked out or washed out because they made the training so difficult. The way they worked that was, if they needed a lot of people because there was a war going on or something, then they lowered the minimum passing scores. But if they had plenty of people and they didn't need to send somebody up to fight wars, then they raised the minimum passing scores. And I went through at a time when the minimum passing score was fairly high, and yet I did better than a lot of people that had better backgrounds than I did. So, that is what it is. I got off track a little there. I've been going for 30 minutes now. I don't want to run long. I mentioned stretching yourself. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to end with a challenge. And that challenge is, I want some of you to seriously consider attending an event that I'll be at the 27th through the 29th in New York City. I'll be at the Carnegie Hall, which will overlook Times Square, right where the ball rises and falls every New Year's Day. And I'll be hanging out with people who, many, like Martha Stewart, I don't know whether she's a billionaire or not, I can't remember, but she'll be there. She's scheduled to give a presentation. A lot of others who are extremely successful are. And I'm there because I'm getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I'm on the same stage and getting the same award as a lot of very, very famous people. Like Martha's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. And everybody on this call probably knows Martha from watching her cooking shows, but she has a empire, of lifestyle businesses. And I'm pretty sure she's in the billions. A lot of the others aren't that wealthy, but I think she's probably the richest person on the stage. Dan Kennedy is scheduled to give a presentation, but he may or may not make it. He was in hospice for a while, and he was doing better, but we'll see. Dan's known as the Millionaire Maker because I was a member of Glacier Kennedy Insider Circle until the one near me closed down because the membership just dropped off so much. But everybody studied his style of marketing, and we said we lived on planet Dan. We followed his teachings, and I still do, and especially things about time management and marketing to the affluent. It's like in a lot of my lives, I talk about selling to rich people. Why would you do that? Instead of focusing on selling to poor people. Well, if you sell to poor people, they don't have a lot of money to spend, so you can't charge a lot. You can't make a lot. You're better off selling to the rich, making a lot from them, and then if you want to help the poor out, giving some to them or establishing some things to help them out. Like I mentioned, the family reunion we have established a scholarship fund. Then we give money out, and I hope to establish a second scholarship fund where I'd like to, push seven figures over and let somebody handle it, and make a difference that way. You can't do that if you're broke. You can do that if you have the money because you go to where the money is, you earn it, and then you deal with what you will. But you need to be surrounded by people who have money. You need to sell to people who have money. For the longest time, I watched one of my friends online who lives in a small town in Oklahoma, and I looked at the prices he was charging, and I said, "Man, you should be charging like 50 times that much." And a lot of my friends at seminars and conferences said to him the same thing. And then one day I looked at the town he was in. The average income in that town is less than $30,000 a year, and the average business owner could not afford to pay the higher prices, so he couldn't charge them higher prices. Most of the people were rural; they were farmers, and it wasn't a big city. There is a nearby city less than an hour away, where the average income is probably 70,000 a year. Average per capita income is probably 60 or 70,000 a year. Houses there are probably 200 to 300,000 each. Houses where he lives are probably $40,000 each. You see the difference? He can't charge higher prices where he's at because the people can't afford it. He can't charge higher prices to the businesses because the businesses aren't making the money. He went and marketed in a more affluent market. He can take some of that money back home and help out the people there if he wants to. But you have to market to the people who have the money. Okay, and that's my point there. It's I grew up poor, so I can't look down on poor people. I grew up on government subsistence. I ate government cheese and pinto beans and powdered eggs and things like that. I talk about in my cookbook, learning to enjoy the flavors of some of those foods. You know, uh, and so I'm not talking down to or about poor people. I'm saying to you, your past doesn't define what your future can be, but you have to stretch. You have to reach and try to do more. It's like falling back on my family reunion. They brought all the family members who were there, who were authors, up front, and put us at a table, and we talked about what it takes to be an author. And a lot of the people there said, "Well, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I just never did it." And they worried too much about perfection, first of all, about being judged, by your grammar or your English or whatever. It's like I need to be perfect, and I'm like, you don't need to be perfect. I don't care. I've written now so many books; it's insane, and I don't try to be perfect. The secret is the secret. The secret is to making money, to being successful, to a lot of what I'm talking about is being able to deliver actual value into people's lives. And I already said that earlier that if you can deliver value into people's lives, I don't care who they are, they're going to reach out to you. They're going to want you around them, and that's the secret to networking and rubbing shoulders with the multi-millionaires. And even I had one friend who's a billionaire. He's deceased now, but he was a personal friend. And he related to me for something that I won't even get into, but he wanted me around because he saw that I could help him in some way too. And so Again, when you approach people, you have to have something of value to offer them. But see, thing is, you have lots of things of value. A lot of those things you underestimate the value of. Don't do that. Look at what you have and say, how can I help this person? What skills, what knowledge, what, you know, it could be something as simple as the fact that you're willing to stretch, to do more, to take risk. Uh, with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. I see Roger Dew has joined me. Thank you, Roger. I asked you folks if you found value in today's broadcast to share it, to like it, but certainly share it on your timeline. And for those of you who live anywhere near New York City or can get the plane tickets are very inexpensive these days. Uh, the plane tickets are the hotel room is a lot more expensive than the plane tickets. But the place I'm going to stay at, we have a block of hotel rooms. I don't know how long that block will be held before they release them, since the event starts on the 26th. So go ahead and take a look at it, and then think about trying to make it. Look at all the people who are going to be there, and those people. We have people from the media, from radio and television and magazines. We have entertainers, and Hollywood celebrities, and then a lot of very successful business people. So take a look at it and see if you can't make it. If you do, I look forward to meeting you there. And one of the things I'll do is try to meet you if you tell me that you followed my link. This is a referral link, but the link I just gave you, if you get a general admission, there is no commission on that. From that, for me, I wanted to be able to get people in affordably, and so I arranged that with the event host. So if you follow the link I just gave you, the Join Me at Living Legends 2019, that'll get you the general admissions for about a third of what the regular public will have to pay to get in. And with that, let me wrap it up. Thank you again. We've gone just under 40 minutes. I will plan on doing another Facebook Live tomorrow. I welcome you to reach out to me and suggest a topic. I have been in business online for 23 years. I've hosted my own live seminars. I've podcasts. I'm a professionally trained platform speaker. I've created information products to include ebooks and physical books and books in different formats on platforms like the Amazon Kindle. I have created products in CD format, DVD format, audio format, courses that went in big binders and big boxes. So all those things I know how to do, and I've done search engine optimization, and I understand networking and building relationships with people so that they want to work with you. So any of those topics, just feel free to suggest a topic to me via preferably a private message. Just send it over Facebook Messenger. I'll eventually get to it. I'll get back to you. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.